Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we are going to be talking about trade season. Today is Thursday the 12th. There will not be a show tomorrow, Friday the 13th, which means the next time you guys hear from me will be Sunday the 15th. When trade season takes its kind of next step up, right? Gets into its next gear, not high gear necessarily, though it will be a little higher for the Lakers than most teams, I believe, based on some of the stuff that I'm hearing. But it will kick into, let's say, like second or third gear or so, with third, fourth, and maybe even fifth to come as we get later into the season. And with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and preview trade season as best I can. I wrote something for Clutch Points, which kind of broke down the path that I think the Lakers should take. And then, we can get into specific names. and then, frankly, like, I'm going to hand off the show to you. If you guys have comments, if you guys have any questions about anything, it could be about the Lakers, it could be about TV, movies, video games, other sports. The Rams are currently playing the Niners right now. We could talk about anything. I'm going to hand the show off to you. I'll be here for about 30, 40 minutes or so, and we'll cover as much stuff as I possibly can. And then obviously, depending on how many questions we get, I will spend, excuse me, the right amount of time on it so that I get to as many of those questions as I possibly can. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast. If you're listening in the morning, if you're watching live right now, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. And then also right over here to the left, the kind folks at Underdog were able to put together a QR code so that you can join in on the fun with me there on the app. I'm having a blast. I'm going to start doing, picks going into next week when the Lakers finally get back to a regular schedule. We'll do picks probably for every Lakers game from here on out, and we'll compete with each other. I might even set up a separate room for us to be able to play against each other in this in our own kind of Discord or our own community here. We'll have some fun with it. So again, that's an Underdog Fantasy, and you can go to underdogfantasy.com/lounge, I believe, is where, if you guys are listening to this in audio form, that's the link for you. But if you guys are watching, use that QR code. It's right there. It'll stay there all show. And then for the last few seconds after I wrap things up, you'll see a nice big QR code there at the bottom. I'll just show you that. Boom. All right. So let's go ahead and dive on in, though, with trade season kicking off again Sunday, December 15th. So starting on Sunday, a chunk of the players who signed their contracts over the summer, free agents who signed their contracts over the summer, will become trade eligible. Now, that won't be every player. I think there's another date coming in January where after that, every player becomes trade eligible. I'm also pretty sure mid-December marks the time when minimum contracts can start being stacked with each other. Right now, you can only use one minimum contract at a time. And back during the summer, the Lakers could have only used one minimum contract at a time as per this new CBA. That's not an apron thing. That's an every team thing for some stupid reason. So we'll go ahead and talk about the Lakers options and what I believe is to come shortly after December 15th here in a second. And then over the course of this thing, wherever you guys want to take it, we can go there. Just getting updates now that my latest for Clutch Points is being edited as we speak. So maybe while we are sitting here talking, that will get wrapped up and posted. And if so, I'll put that link here in the comments and we can go over that together. I'll be narrating that, I believe, tonight for the lowdown for your guys' feeds tomorrow. And then, yeah, but let's go ahead and get started with the trade season preview, starting with what to expect as soon as December 15th. So I wrote this thing for Clutch Points today, talking about the path that I would like to see the Lakers take. I'm pretty sure I hope I didn't delete it. No, I didn't. Here's the path that I outlined earlier this week. Starting with trading Gabe Wood and then upwards of 3 second-round picks for Valanciunas, and then signing Markelle Fultz shortly thereafter, then trading D'Lo, Rui, JHS Cam, and 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders for Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson. And then if you can do something with Vando, cool. I think I tweaked a couple of those things along the way here, so we'll see what that actually looks like. But, I basically broke that down and added some intel and some context to that plan for tonight's piece on Clutch Points. And the biggest thing that I think I found out in writing that was that the Lakers and Wizards have already held like preliminary discussions as far as like, all right, what's it going to look like for Jonas Valanciunas? What's that offer got to be? The Wizards are kind of curious what they can expect to get here from the Lakers, and all of that good stuff. And so that ball, I wouldn't necessarily consider it rolling per se. It's more kind of meandering. They gave it a little nudge, I would say, but like that conversation has begun. It's a couple of front offices, by the way, that get along pretty well. The Wizards and the Lakers front offices they are amicable. Those negotiations over the summer were not as contentious as say they were between the Lakers and Portland. So you have that kind of going for you. And I was told that there's a non-zero. Now, how high a chance is obviously up for debate, but there's a non-zero chance that the Lakers just bite the bullet and pay up and trade for Jonas Valanciunas as soon as, or agree to a trade for Jonas as soon as December 15th. It just depends on price and how much it would cost the Lakers to bring him into the organization right now compared to later in the season. And from the Wizards standpoint, they're like, well, if you're going to do that and you're going to ask us to forego any potential added value for Valanciunas as more and more teams become interested, you're going to have to pay up. And that's why that 3 second round pick number is where we landed on. I'm told that in such a trade, Gabe Vincent would probably be going to Washington, and the Lakers would be pushing to include Christian Wood's contract in that trade, as it is the biggest of their veteran minimum contracts. And, they want to get much further below the second apron than they currently sit. It's not just for frugality purposes. There's a practical element to this too, where currently there are some figures that have the Lakers at like 30,000 below the second apron. Keith Smith of Spotrac has it at about 45,000. It's in that range. It's in that ballpark. It's not very much money, and the Lakers want to get under that. And if they include Wood and Vincent for Jonas Valanciunas, that's about as much money as you could possibly open up with one trade. That doesn't involve a max contract, obviously. That would open up about $4 million. And that figure is going to matter heavily for a couple of reasons. One being that if the Lakers don't do anything outside of that, that would give them the leeway to trade for somebody like Cam Johnson, who, again, according to Keith Smith, has that bonus money that actually increases his cap hit from 23-ish million to about 27-ish million. That extra money there would help the Lakers in acquiring him if he's somebody that they would target. I hope that he is. But biggest thing is it brings in a healthy and I have questions about Valanciunas too, to be clear. We'll get into that also. But he's an above average backup center and a below average starting center. Lakers wouldn't be starting him. Lakers probably wouldn't even be closing with him, but they aren't really doing that with, well, I guess they've closed some games with Gabe, to be fair. But the biggest thing is you're bringing in somebody with size, somebody who can at least theoretically space the floor and thus play with Anthony Davis. Against a team like the Denver Nuggets, you would be able to put him not necessarily on an island with Jokic, because we saw what that looked like. Jokic dropped 56 on his head. But you would be able to put him on Jokic. He won't get pushed around as much, and he might hold up Jokic long enough for AD to get over there and help and really kind of impact what Denver would be trying to do there. I understand there are questions about JV. I understand the questions about foot speed, getting up and down the court. He would actually make the Lakers slower in this case, and the Lakers are already plenty slow. So there are questions to be had here. And I totally understand somebody who might look at the situation and prefer that the Lakers go in a different route, maybe get a little younger at center, maybe get somebody who's a little bit more athletic, all of that good stuff. But I, for one thing, I'm fine with Valanciunas as a fit and as a player. I'm pretty lukewarm on all of it. I think it's acquiring a backup center. Like, it's not going to change the world. But where I do think, and the reason that there is so much noise here surrounding Valanciunas going into trade season is the way that LeBron handled his, pay cut promises or offer back during the summer, where it was like, I will take a pay cut if it helps you get Klay Thompson, if it helps you get James Harden. And then weirdly enough, if it helps you get Jonas Valanciunas. That was super weird to me. I don't understand why Valanciunas would have been on that list. He was, and that noise has kind of stuck around ever since. So I would expect the noise on that front to pick up a little bit starting on December 15th. And honestly, if you want my fully honest opinion, we actually got, I think, the first little trace of public negotiation there from Washington when, according to David Aldridge of The Athletic, Washington wants to keep, I'm paraphrasing here, wants to keep Valanciunas for as much of the season as they can for his veteran leadership and impact. That would indicate to me that they have had conversations already with at least one team and aren't thrilled about the offer as it stands right now, and are trying to convince people that maybe, just maybe, they'll keep this guy around long term. Now, all they need to do is convince, in this case, the Lakers, that they will keep Valanciunas as he gets closer to the deadline, when there would be more competition for his services. That would be something that I think would maybe give the Lakers pause. Would they give up 3 second rounders for Valanciunas? That is a little more. There's a lot more internal debate, I'm told, on that front. There are some people in the organization who are for it. There are some people in the organization who are not, and it's one of those things that you kind of have to wait and see what the Lakers are willing to do. But I am told, though, that the Lakers and Wizards have had some of those initial conversations, kind of checking up on the situation. Not getting too specific, but once Valanciunas is eligible to be traded, I would expect there to be more kind of meaningful conversations there between the Lakers and Wizards, and we'll see how that turns out. Oh, there we go. From there, it just becomes about like your preferences with targets, right? I personally really like the Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson combination. That would be my ideal outcome here in terms of what the Lakers could at least somewhat feasibly do with the assets that they have at their disposal. I understand people who might prefer Kuz. I understand people who might prefer Bruce Brown. There are plenty of options. There might be people who prefer Brandon Ingram. I'm a little lower on Ingram because of the contract that he's expecting after this season. I don't want to be on the hook for anything near max for Ingram because of his injury history and just because I don't think he's a near max player. But I understand the people who might be pulling for that. So we'll just kind of see where this goes. We already have a ton of questions and comments. And I'm gonna kind of get out of the way here pretty soon. But the one thing my one parting thought on a macro level before we get out of here, and we'll not get out of here, but before I hand the show over to you guys, is I truly believe that this team is worth investing into. Both from a standpoint of I just believe in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, even if we are starting to see some diminishing returns on the LeBron front in ways that we haven't to this point as in his career. And also like I am not okay with just writing this out and allowing Rob Pelinka the opportunity to kickstart the rebuild that he would then potentially be in charge of. I don't want the same front office that has made LeBron James and Anthony Davis pretty mediocre over the course of the last 5 years or so in the regular season. I don't want the front office that does that to those guys in charge of a rebuild. I just don't. I want new blood in there. And if this front office is allowed to just kind of ride this out and then revisit stuff at the end of the year, I don't think that's a good thing for anybody involved, any fans, certainly. So and on top of it too, this is how I felt about when they traded Russell Westbrook. This is how I feel now. I don't think LeBron and AD need nearly the amount of help that the consensus seems to think that they need. I think Anthony Davis, with like even a modicum of extra defense out there, is absolutely otherworldly defensively, and we have seen him take strides a little bit offensively over the last couple of years. I think LeBron is sure, he's not 28-year-old LeBron. He's not even 35-year-old LeBron, but he's still pretty damn good. And if you put him in a series or in a one-game setting where he gets to put all of his energy into winning that one game, I think the Lakers would get out of the play-in and certainly compete really well depending on the matchup in the playoffs. And I don't think this Western Conference has any team in it that I don't think the Lakers have any chance against whatsoever. The closest team to that is Denver, and they've been pretty mediocre all year. Jamal Murray looks like a shell of himself. OKC is pretty scary, given what they could do potentially, but they don't have a ton of contract money, so they couldn't go out and just go trade for Giannis now. And we'll see what they look like when they get Chet back. They looked really good with Chet, and I would imagine with a center combination of Chet and Hartenstein that would look obviously pretty damn good too. But I don't know. I've seen the Lakers compete with them and been okay with how that looked. The Lakers have already beat some of the better teams in the conference this season. So I don't know, with it being as wide open as it is, and with LeBron and AD still looking pretty damn good. I would much rather gamble on them figuring it out this year than on uh, this front office figuring out a rebuild that they could jumpstart by trading LeBron this year. It's just not. I don't. It's not honestly all that close to me either. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into the super comments, and then I'll dive into the live comments here that I can get to. Brandon Oming starts us off with one, which means we get to play this thing. All right, Brandon writes D'Lo, Rui, and Hayes and a first for Dennis, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Sharp. Get back in athletic guard, a wing defender, and a physical backup big. Then your rotation would be Dennis Schroeder, Austin Reaves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron and AD with a bench of Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, Jonas Valanciunas, Christian Wood, and Sharp. Again, I don't understand the infatuation with Dennis Schroeder. I don't like Dennis Schroeder is not anywhere near a good enough player that I'm like, give me round 3, baby. Like, you know how good food has to be for you to go for thirds? That's like Thanksgiving holiday meal type quality, right? Like that's all you can eat buffet type of like sushi, like good sushi buffet that I'm going back for thirds for. Dennis Schroeder is not on that level to me. I understand that like he at least competes and he's somebody that fans are kind of comfortable with, but I would much rather see what I could find else out there to bolster this guard rotation. He's too small, he shoots too slow. Um and we've seen the limitations of him next to LeBron and next to Anthony Davis. Like I'm good on it. Give me a different experience. Like I don't need thirds of Dennis Schroeder. Kadeem Gaines writes, the most Pelinka move ever is trading for Valanciunas and Malcolm Brogdon. I can see it now. I don't see them trading for Brogdon because of the injury concern. I kind of get what you're saying, though. In terms of like you could have just signed Valanciunas in the summer and now you're going to trade for him. It's not necessarily that easy, though, because like it would have just really depended on the kind of pay cut LeBron would have been willing to take to bring Valanciunas in. And then, like if you would have signed Valanciunas using your exception, you may have hard capped yourself at the first apron, the way that like the Warriors did. And they're going to run into some issues as they try to pull some stuff off this season 2 or this trade season 2. So, and then, yeah, with Brogdon, he just doesn't, there are things that he brings to the table that I would like. I've always been a big Brogdon guy, but he's not very fast. He's a little bigger. He can shoot the ball pretty well. He always has weird ass hand injuries for some reason, which I don't quite get. How like over the course of his career, his hands keep getting hurt. And then like what the Lakers need in acquiring a guard is an athlete, somebody who gets after it defensively and is bigger than Schroeder before you guys go there. I like Fultz as an option there. He's 6'4". He's still an elite athlete. He is rehabbing apparently some kind of a knee issue, and that's part of why he hasn't been signed so far this year. But if you ask me, like, would I rather give up assets to go and trade for Dennis Schroeder at the number that he would have to be traded for, or just open up space in a roster spot to give Markelle Fultz a go, I would probably prefer the Fultz route. He was actually pretty good, all things considered, for Orlando last year. And that's why it was so surprising when he didn't, when he like is the fact that he isn't in the league right now is so surprising. He's a former first overall pick. Yeah, his shot has been a disaster. And yeah, he's probably nearing bust status, compared to other first round picks in the history of the sport. But I don't know. And by the way, like for what it's worth, in doing research for this piece, I did hear that the Lakers have had plenty of internal conversations about Fultz and about what that would look like. They're doing their diligence on whether he can get and stay healthy this year, how he would fit next to Austin, all of that stuff. So and like, look, if you bring in Fultz and now all of a sudden Austin doesn't have to guard the other team's best perimeter player, that might make Austin a better version of himself too. So um, I I don't know. It's that's who I like over Brogdon, over Schroeder, over the other options that the Lakers might have. I think the simplest kind of quick fix would be clearing a roster spot, clearing up space under the second apron to be able to go sign Markel Fultz at a prorated amount of his like $3-ish million veteran minimum contract. The next one here comes from Amon Brar, who writes, knowing the draft capital has reportedly been a couple of second round picks and salary for Vucevic, would you prefer Valanciunas or Vooch? Um, the problem isn't just the draft capital; it's the like money that you have to send out there. It's you could send out just Gabe for Valanciunas, and you could send out Gabe and Wood for Valanciunas and actually open up plenty of I guess quote unquote cap room under that second apron. Um, Vooch is making like 20 mil. That requires, and because of where the Lakers sit, they would have to send out probably more than 20 million just to give themselves that leeway. Maybe later in the year, you go off the top of my head, I think Gabe makes about 11. You include Wood to get you to 14. Maybe you include Hayes to get you to about 17. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino gets you to like 21. So like it would be Gabe, Wood, Hayes, Hood-Schifino, and a couple second rounders for Vooch versus Gabe and Wood and a few first rounders for Valanciunas. I think there's a good debate to be had there. I can understand either way. I think I still kind of prefer Valanciunas because he's a more physical presence than Vooch is. Vooch is a better offensive player, but the Lakers don't have offensive problems, in my opinion. Their problems are on the defensive side, on the physicality side. I want a goon. I'm going to be honest. I want somebody who can go in there, stand under the paint, and on occasion throw one of those borderline dirty shots. And that's something that Valanciunas is a lot better at than Nikola Vucevic. Jermaine Thomas writes, what is your opinion on a Sexton and John Collins trade for D'Lo, Gabe, and Rui? Don't love it. I like Sexton. I think he would be a big help on the perimeter. Not sure about how he and Austin would fit offensively, but there's enough to like there. Collins is just so small. And again, like it goes back to what we just talked about with Vooch, where Vooch would be a clear offensive upgrade to what the Lakers have to offer outside of Anthony Davis at the center position. But you would then like in I don't know what Collins is making. I think it's like probably in the teens between AD and Collins or AD and Vooch. You would have like 60 or 70 million dollars devoted to the center spot that probably can't really play together all that much. Collins hurts your defense. He's small. So all of the big center stuff that AD doesn't really want to do anymore, he would still have to do every time he steps onto the court. Um, I don't I Collins is a really exciting player. He was a really good player under the last CBA, but I think under this new CBA, we're probably going to see his market dip way down. Okay, wow. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy out of here. Sorry, everybody, for not noticing that. When I'm on YouTube or when I'm on StreamYard, which is what I use to stream to YouTube, there's a starred comment section and there's a live comment section. And while I am taking comments from the starred comment section, I can't see the live comment section, and that's how you arrive at that nonsense. But that guy is gone, and he will not be back. He is banned. So go ahead and we'll awkwardly segue right back into the comments. I get boards for days. Writes, if the Lakers were to trade for Jonas soon after December 15th, would we see them wait till the deadline to make other deals or continue to strike early? I think they would probably give it a go with just Jonas at first. From what I've heard, for one thing, you can't just like force a team to make a trade. And the Lakers don't have enough draft capital to just like force a team by overpaying with first rounders to go out and bring that. And I don't think that's something that the Lakers are all that interested in doing anyway. The plan that I outlined for clutch points, which is I think live now. So I'll put that in the old comment section too. But from what I've heard, the Lakers would probably go with just Jonas as their backup center, and see how much better that makes them. And after getting a decent sample size of that type of a roster, combined with the sample size to this point, the Lakers would then, take a harder look at, is it worth it to try to continue to fix this? Is it worth it to continue to, or is it in their best interest to just kind of ride this out after, throwing a little bit of extra money at bad money? So, that would be in their minds. I still think this is. I don't think they're chasing bad money with this, with the core of LeBron and AD, but from what I've gathered to this point, they would probably take a little bit of a break. They would still have conversations. They would still be doing their due diligence. I don't think they would sit on their hands after trading for Jonas, but I think they would take a look at what the team looks like now with him there. To also see, by the way, like if you play Jonas and AD side by side, does that make you less? Does that make it so that you need another wing that much less? That's another thing that they would have to figure out too. So I think they would start with Jonas, maybe sign Fultz using that extra roster spot and the extra money that they could open up by moving Wood too, and then and then like wait till January, February to address the rest of their roster. All right, let's go ahead and dive into. We're doing this again, huh? What the hell? Like, I don't understand why people come in here and do that stuff. All right, so let's go up. I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top. And let's see. Dave asks, why would anyone trade with the Lakers? They have nothing. I don't think that's true. They have first round picks in the post LeBron era that a lot of teams want to get their hands on because they get to short, this Lakers organization that wouldn't have LeBron and perhaps AD to lean on. So I think those are valuable assets. They have expiring contract money in D'Angelo Russell and all of their veteran minimum contracts, Hayes and Reddish and Wood and Hood Schifino. That's the kind of combination of assets that typically get stuff done in today's NBA. So I don't know that I would necessarily, I don't agree that they have nothing worth trading for. Now, you would like for their players to have more value than they do, right? You would like for Jalen Hood Schifino to be seen as more than just an expiring contract now. You would like for D'Angelo Russell to be seen as more than an expiring contract. Veteran minimum expirings or veteran minimum expiring. So there's not much that you can do really about that. But I do think that the Lakers, I'll say this, they are significantly better equipped to do stuff this year than they were last year. Let's keep going up here to Johnny asking, can we get Zach LaVine? He has no trade market. No. Short answer. He makes too much money. You would be sending out too much of your rotation, and the Lakers do not want his contract on their books moving forward. So, all right, yes, they can trade for him, but I don't see that as something that they would do. As things stand right now, I think they would look to address the depth before they try to address the top of the roster. Let's go with Zolful writing, any news on the LeBron foot thing? I'm told it's more precautionary than anything. Him sitting out Friday, it would give him a full week off between games. Seeing as they play like right away, right after that Friday game. So I think they're just taking their time. Look, I shouldn't probably, but I'll ask questions about what other guys in the sport do to get themselves ready to play in the NBA. But there is not a player who I trust more to understand better what is best for his body over the course of an 82 game season and preferably with a few more games in the postseason than LeBron James. If he doesn't think it's a good idea, or if his trainer doesn't think it's a good idea for him to go, I don't think it's a good idea for him to go. So go ahead, take that extra day off, and then we'll see you again, I believe, on Saturday. Let's go with why don't you trade LeBron for Jokic? Shais writes, because Denver laughs you off of the phone. Big Baby Sports, are the Lakers going to be aggressive this year to make trades or stay less aggressive? I think they'll be more aggressive than they were last year because they have the assets to be able to do so. And I also think, like, to a certain extent, Rob Pelinka, I don't think his seat is necessarily going to get that warm, but I do think Jeannie Buss is hearing it from fans because of the job that Pelinka has done and the fact that his seat hasn't gotten warmer. I do think that noise is kind of starting to seep in a little bit, and that might, I wouldn't say force their hand, but it'll certainly kind of give them a nudge in the right direction. Going back to the starred comments here, Lowry 1993 writes, could we see the Fultz move shortly after the Valanciunas trade? So this is where it gets tricky, right? Because if the Lakers decide to pursue, say, Cam Johnson, and this is something I wrote for the piece that I wrote for Clutch Points. Johnson has these bonuses that basically, because of how likely they are, increase the amount of money that he is worth against the cap. So where his contract right now sits at like 23 mil and some change, those bonuses take it all the way up to 27 mil. And if the Lakers think that they have the assets to go out and get Cam Johnson, and also therefore the financial flexibility that some of these other teams that are interested in Johnson may not have, they might prioritize making a move for Johnson while they have that gap and then come back to Fultz. Another way that they could do it, and this is how I outlined it in my piece, is you make the Valanciunas trade, you open up that room, you sign Fultz into that space. By the way, the longer you wait on Fultz, the less money he's going to cost because the more prorated that salary is going to be. But you make that trade for Valanciunas, you sign Fultz now, and there is still, I believe, going to be about a million or so left in gap between where the Lakers would sit between where the Lakers sit and that second apron. And then depending on the contracts that you send out for uh Cam Johnson, you would therefore have that gap to make up for like the 3.375 million that Johnson would be owed in those bonuses, or the amount that he would count against your cap in those bonuses. So I know there's a lot of math. I know there are just few ways to make people's eyes glaze over faster than math talk and CBA talk and all that nonsense. But yeah, rest assured that I again, to get back to the point that I made here a couple times already tonight, I do think that the Lakers have the flexibility necessary to be kind of aggressive here. And like the one thing you could say looking back on what the Lakers weren't able to do at last year's deadline is everybody who was traded went for, I believe, or just about everybody who was traded went for expiring money. And the Lakers just didn't have any expiring money last year. This year they do. This year they do have expiring money. They do have draft picks. They do have the tools to be able to go after it. And here's hoping they do. Let's go with I get boards for days writing. Have you heard anything about Fultz's health or mental health? Find it hard to believe he's healthy and out of a job. Yeah, it is weird. But look, like Lonnie out of a job too. That doesn't make much sense to me either. Dennis Smith Jr. also out of a job. That doesn't really make sense to me either. This new CBA, man, it's just brutal. And I was thinking about this today during lunch. I was sitting there eating pizza, thinking about the CBA. That's how much of a sicko I am. But I was sitting there eating pizza and I was thinking about the CBA. By the way, the pizza had pineapple. And I think where we're going to go is or where we're heading is the max guys are always going to get the max contracts, and those numbers are going to keep going up and up and up and up, and they will pull other amounts up with them because that's how the revenue sharing between players and owners is going to go. But what I will say is you are going to have way fewer best or second best players who just get their max contract with no negotiation. Um, and what that's going to allow for is you're probably going to have, I think this is the intention, is to have a bigger middle class in the NBA that instead of making, 60, 70 million bucks a year in a few years when the new TV deal kicks in, you'll have players that making that much, but you'll also have a lot more players making like in that ballpark between 25 and 35, maybe 40 million bucks a year. And that will make those players more movable right now. I think Brian Kamenetsky, when he was on the show earlier this week, made a great point, I thought, where all of these rosters were designed with the previous CBA in mind. And now we're in a new CBA. And this stagnation that we have seen in player movement and in teams' abilities to navigate this CBA has a lot to do with the fact that these rosters were put together during the last CBA. And once those things catch up to each other, I think we'll see a lot more movement. But it's going to come with some growing pains because some guys who are accustomed to making a certain percentage of their team's cap aren't going to be getting it, and we'll see how the players union handles all of that. Well, I'm surprised, frankly, that we haven't heard more from the players union about some of the guys who aren't currently signed, which they don't necessarily represent because those guys aren't currently NBA players. But I would be a little nervous, given how this last free agency went. Let's go with, let's see, where were we at up here? Let's see. Nobody wants to play on the Lakers with this much pressure, playing with LeBron and having people blame you and hate you like Westbrook and the others. There are more Lakers fans than there are in other fan bases. And I think that has an effect on some of the extremes. But the idea that there are situations that players can play in that come completely pressureless or completely depressurized is not very logical. Fans are fans, no matter what team they root for. Let's go with okay, John Blue asking about Kuzma. He's available. You can get him. It'll cost you a first round pick and obviously the necessary cap money to go out and get him. I haven't really worked on trades for him specifically. My focus has more been on Brooklyn right now. But again, like, depending on how the negotiations go with Valanciunas, like, I guess technically if you want to get literal here or extremely practical, if the Lakers decide to make a Jonas trade now, they could talk to Washington. Now they would have to pay up for this because Kuz especially is his market. His trade market is going to be way higher than Valanciunas' over the course of the year. So the Lakers would have to pay up for this. But if they basically say, hey, we're already here with Valanciunas, let's go ahead and wrap this thing into a bigger deal and send Kuz over too, so that we have, we can get accustomed to playing with those two guys and then see if we also need to go out and get a Bruce Brown or a Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever. Maybe that's how they do this. I don't think that's how it goes. I think, again, they trade for Valanciunas first, or they trade for a backup big first, and then see the impact that has on the team, how much further the team needs to go to be considered a serious title contender, and then address those issues then. But I guess it's within the realm of possibilities. I think it's a really low possibility, but it's not impossible. Trying to get to as many of these as I possibly can. And yeah, I'm trying to, let's see. Elfrid Payton is another name that Malcolm brings up. He actually already played well so far this year. I still think I prefer Fultz. He's a better athlete than Payton, but I could kind of see it. Let's see. Andrew F. There's no trade to even consider besides a Levine AO deal with DFS and Sharp from Brooklyn. I think there's plenty of trades that they can pursue. I'm running out of thing. It's going on 50 minutes. Yeah, I think we are good. Sporadic has a good question. Why are Lakers fans in love with injury-prone guys? Levine, Timler, Lonzo, Brogdon, etc. Why are you seriously just like creating accounts to come in here and mess with the stream? Like, why are you doing that? Anyway, not sporadic. I'm asking that of the guy who keeps writing, ugly words into the comments. But part of the problem, I'm going to be completely honest here, is that like everybody in the NBA has injury problems. Like, it's damn near impossible to find players who have completely clean bills of health between all the basketball that they play, getting to the NBA, the 82 game season, how hard you have to play defensively in the NBA compared to other leagues and stuff like that. and other eras. Like, I don't know. The Lakers are very, very timid when it comes to players with injury concerns. But I'm at a point now where it's like I would much rather the Lakers spend top dollar to get the absolute best doctors and trainers and therapists and stuff like that, and just accept the fact that injuries are a part of NBA life. It's what the Dodgers have basically done with pitchers, where it's like, we're going to bring in that pitcher. We're going to tell that pitcher to throw their high leverage pitches more than all of their other pitchers. And some guys are going to hold up. Some guys aren't. We're going to invest everything that we can to keep guys healthy as best as we can. But part of pitching in baseball is your elbow going out or your shoulder getting sore, your blisters by holding the ball is the way that they are to get all the spin that they do. Like in baseball, you look at the number of pitchers who over the course of the year last year got hurt and weren't able to play. It's very similar to like running back in football or, and in basketball, I think we're nearing that point now too, where it's like nobody is ever safe. And I just think what you're far better off doing is spending the amounts of money that you have to make medicine an advantage for yourself. All right. I think that is let me see. Johnny has one more starred comment here, and that'll take us out of there. Why does the front office keep thinking Reaves is an all-star? I think they overvalue him a little bit. I like Austin a lot. I think good things tend to happen when Austin has the ball in his hands. I think he's a fantastic offensive basketball player with very real limitations on the defensive side, but he can very easily be like the fourth, certainly fifth best player on a championship team. No bullshit. The lower you go there, right, the better your team becomes. That's how it works for everybody. But I tend to think that the Lakers have fallen in love with a good story. Austin came out of nowhere, undrafted kid, unassuming kid. They love his attitude, all of that stuff, and they have conflated all of that with like, the caliber of player he actually is right now. I personally don't want to see Austin traded. I again, there's no reason for me to like. I'm not out on Austin Reaves by any stretch of the imagination. I just do think that, and by the way, his contract is maybe one of the best values in the sport, and I think that plays a role here too. That needs to be mentioned. But yeah, I do think that at some point, whether it's this year or certainly next, and as he gets a little older and as he gets closer to being paid, money that is not restricted free agency type money, that's when I think, they'll have to be a lot more upfront with the reality of the situation there, which is like good player, great story, great kid. But he does have his limitations, and they need to be a little bit more real about what those limitations mean. All right. That is going to do it. Got to a ton of questions there from the live audience. Great questions there. Really fun conversation. Let me know what you guys think. Is this what you guys want mailbags to be kind of from now on, where I basically just focus? I'll always answer iTunes questions. Those things help the show. And maybe I'll be more active in answering Discord questions, like, directly in the Discord, and have more of a conversation there. Always figuring this out, always listening to you guys, because without you guys, I don't have a gig. So your input really matters to me. Also, what really matters to me is that y'all head over to Underdog using this QR code that's right over my shoulder right here. Hit that login button. They have a 50% deposit match. And then we can start playing together. the better that we get at helping out our sponsors there, the more sponsors are willing to help us, and the more cool stuff that I am able to do here with the show. We have some really cool stuff hopefully lined up at the beginning of the new year that I'm hoping to be able to pull off, but all of that stuff really helps. But yeah, enough of my rambling. My voice is about to give out. I still have to record the lowdown. So let's get up out of here. For you guys who played a really active role in this show, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody, is it the wrong shoulder? I was pointing up here. Maybe I'm flipped. So like, I don't know. What if I just do that? Should I put up 2 QR codes? Have one on either side of me just so that if I hold up a hand, I can go like that. But no, I'm Anthony Irwin. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. Have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's. And I will talk to y'all on Sunday. Have a good one, everybody.